Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. What you're looking at is kind of the end of last week's video, or the end of the last Back to the Beginner basic series, but we're going to build upon this today and we're going to learn two new stitches known as the half treble and the treble crochet. Again, if you're working in US terminology, that would be the half double and the double crochet. They're slightly longer stitches, as in they go up to a higher height when you work them, and they're also just the next couple of stitches that we like to learn. So grab your yarn, grab your hook. If you are an absolute beginner, do go back to my previous video, because in this video we're not going to be talking about hooks and foundation chains and double crochet. We're literally just going to be working from this to our half treble and our treble crochet. So without further ado, we're going to get started. So pick up your yarn and your hook. If you have already done kind of a foundation process or a foundation chain, then that would be helpful, but if not, pause the video and just work that now. So we're going to start by learning our half treble. So this is basically what the name suggests. It's half of the treble crochet, it's half the height, it's one less step, and I'm going to teach you it now. So we're going to begin by chaining 2. So if you're working a foundation chain, you're going to do a turning chain of 2. If you've already got a piece of work, you're going to work a turning chain of 2. So that's 2 yarns over. So I'll just show you that again, because I did speed through that a little bit quickly. So take your yarn underneath, turn around and pull through. Take your hook underneath, turn around and pull through. And then you're going to turn your work so we're ready to continue. Now this is actually going to be a little bit different, because this is our turning chain, but it's also going to be our first stitch. This is so that we can end up with a straight edge still as well. So where you see your first stitch, which is here, so our first little V, which is here, this chain 2 is going to count as our first stitch. So we're not actually going to work into that, we're just going to leave that because this stitch comes here. So we're going to work into the next stitch after that, which for me is this one right here. Now we're going to do something a little bit different from the double crochet in the previous video. We're going to begin by a yarn over. So we're going to yarn over our hook and we're going to insert into the stitch below. So we have our V. Then we're basically going to work the same. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, but we have 3 loops instead of 2 loops on our hook. Now for our half treble, what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over again and we're going to pull through all 3 of those loops. So you can see already that this stitch is slightly looser, is slightly bigger, because obviously we worked that extra step. So if we remember, to begin our half treble, we begin by yarning over. We're going to insert our hook down into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. That's 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. There you have another half treble. Yarn over, insert your hook down into the next stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, so you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. So I'm going to continue that all the way along my row. Continue that all the way along and I'll meet you back at the end of this row. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Okay, so here I've just worked 1 row of half treble crochets, so you can already see the difference. They're slightly larger stitches, and you can see the difference between the row of half trebles and the row of singles. So I'm going to begin round number 2 for you and then work a couple more rounds of half trebles just so that you can see the difference, and then we'll move on to our third stitch, which is the treble crochet. So we'll begin row 2 in the same way with a chain of 2, because that basically just takes us up to the height of a half treble, and then we're going to turn our work over like so. Now this is what the back of a half treble row looks like. So as you can see, again, is slightly different. You've kind of got two sets of V's. You've got a V on this side and a V on the top. And as you continue with crochet, you'll learn some funky new stitches where you can use this V to your advantage to get a nice little different type of pattern in your work. But for now, we're just working our rows of half trebles. So we're going to be working into the exact same way, which is a little bit easier to see with our half trebles, because we're basically just going to work into that gap in between this V, so you get the V on top, if that makes sense. So this chain 2 is our turning chain, but also counts as our first half treble crochet. So again, we're going to miss this first gap and we're going to move into the second gap here. So to begin our half treble, we're going to yarn over, we're going to insert into that second gap here, so we have the V in the front and we're into the stitch. You're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, so you have 3 loops on your hook, and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. That is our first half treble of this row. Yarn over, insert your hook down into that stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Go underneath your hook to yarn over, turn your hook. We're not pulling through, but we're just keeping that yarn over on our hook. Insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So hopefully you've got this. If you are still struggling with the half treble, again, like I said with the double crochet, keep going. If you need to rewind, pause, all of that jazz, you do that and practice the half treble until it feels nice and easy in your hands. I'm going to do a few more rows just to show you what it looks like, and then we can move on to our next stitch. So just a quick one actually before I finish the end of this row. I've just worked my way all the way along it, but this is a little bit different than the double crochet. So we have our chain 2, which is how we began, and we're actually going to work into that stitch. Because that counted as our first half treble crochet, we need to work into it so that we end up with the same number of stitches along every single row. So it's super simple, it's worked in the exact same way. Just yarn over and you're going to find that chain and just insert your hook into the top of it. Yarn over and work the half treble in the exact same way, pulling through all 3 loops. The rest is exactly the same. Then you're going to begin with a chain 2 and then you're going to turn your work so you can work along this row. So now you can pause the video and work that, and I'll meet you back when you're finished. So I've just worked a few rows of that half treble crochet. So if I just zoom in, so this is where the half treble starts and obviously the single crochet ends. So you can see it's very similar, but it just gives off a bit of a different vibe, and it's also it works up quicker because it's a slightly longer stitch. So now we're going to do the last one, which is the treble crochet. So this is very similar to the half treble, but there's just a little extra step, and again it becomes a slightly higher stitch as well. What you can also notice from the differences is that the double crochet is much of a tighter stitch, and you can see that as we change stitches it becomes looser, so there's a few more gaps, and you'll see that when we work the treble crochet as well there'll be a few more gaps as well. So for the treble crochet, you're going to chain a turning chain of 3. Again, this takes you up to the height, and it will also count as our first treble crochet. So yarn over 1, yarn over 2, and then yarn over 3. And then we can turn our work over to the back. So our treble crochet, so this chain 3 is going to count as our first treble crochet. So we're not going to work into this first stitch here, we're going to work into our second stitch. We're going to begin by yarning over, just like our half treble. We're going to insert our hook down into that stitch. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, so you have 3 loops on your hook. But this is where we do something slightly different. So for our half treble, we yarned over and pulled through all 3 stitches, but for our treble crochet, we're going to yarn over, we're going to pull through 2 of our loops on our hook, leaving 2 loops on your hook, and then you're going to pull through you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those final 2 loops. So it's a slightly higher stitch, it's a slightly looser stitch, there's slightly more gap between our stitches, and there's an extra step as well. So I'm going to show you again, so don't worry if you haven't got that quite yet. So you're going to yarn over your hook, you're going to insert down into the stitch, you're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, so you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and you're going to yarn over again and pull through those final 2 loops. Yarn over, insert your hook down into that stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, leaving 2 loops on your hook, so you're going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops too. You can see that this is how our treble crochet begins to look, and this is a very common stitch within crochet. It's used in a lot of things like granny squares and a lot of other stitches as well. And then as you get more confident with using the crochet hook, you can start to move a little bit faster with your stitches as well. So yarn over, insert your hook down into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So I'm going to continue working that to the end of my row, and then I will meet you back when I've finished that. So there we have my first row of treble crochets. This is a super nice stitch actually. You can see the difference between this row and this row, and then this row and this row, because that's where we change our stitches. So we're going to begin row number 2 now, and we're going to begin with a chain 3, which is going to be our turning chain, and is also going to count as our first treble crochet. So we're going to leave this first stitch here, and we're going to work into our second stitch here. We're going to yarn over, insert your hook down into that stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, so you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through only the first 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops as well. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to continue working this all the way along my row and for a few more rows so that you can see what it looks like. Also remember to work into that chain 3 space as well at the end of your row, because that does count as one of your treble crochets. That will help keep your edges nice and straight as well. So pause the video here, rewind the video if you need to, and I will meet you back when you are happy and confident with your treble crochet. Okay then, so this is what my piece is looking. Again, if I just zoom in, this is obviously the treble crochets at the top, and actually I've used up that end of that ball of yarn, which is super helpful, showing you the different stitches, which is really good. So this is the treble crochet row, and you can see that they're slightly longer once again, and you can see also that there's slightly more gap. Especially if we zoom out, we will be able to see the difference. So you can see that you've got double crochet, which is a super tight stitch and super small stitch, and then you've got the half treble crochet, which is still quite a small stitch but it's slightly loopier, and then we've got the treble crochet here, which is slightly larger and has a few more gaps. So there is one more stitch that I do want to show you, which is known as the triple or the double treble, and that is again just a continuation really and from then on there are so many different stitches that just get larger and larger and larger, but once you've done the double treble, you'll be able to do those easily enough as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope you found it helpful and you have 2 more new stitches in your back pocket for crochet. As I said in the previous video, do keep practicing them, do them over and over again until you feel comfortable with them, and then you can start to include them in other stitches as well, or you can do some bigger projects with them as well. The double crochet is mainly used for things like amigurumi, so like toys and things, and then the other ones can be used for bigger blankets as well. So I hope you all found it helpful. Leave me any questions that you may have in the comments. Leave me a like if you did enjoy this video. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another video, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram if you have the chance. I'm at hooks.andneedles1. I'll leave a link in the description box down below for that as well. I'll see you all very soon. Good luck, happy crocheting, bye!